States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have a roll call, please, Mr. Clerk?
Zuber.
Here.
Brunner.
Here.
Farnham. Heltzley.
Here.
Lorenzen.
Here.
Patrick.
Here.
Voigt.
Present. We do have a quorum, so the meeting will continue. Item 4, minutes from the November 5th or 10th meeting and the second regular meeting of November 25th. Need to have the minutes approved. Is there a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Derek seconds. Is there any corrections or additions to the minutes as presented? Assuming you're ready to vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Does carry. Claims against the county. Assume you've all looked at those. Is there a motion to approve the claims on the county?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Derek. Is there questions? Assuming you're ready to vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. They are approved. Number 6, county board member claims. Do we have a motion to approve those, please?
So moved.
Mr. Zuber, is there a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Helsley seconds. Are there any questions, additions, or corrections? Assuming you're ready to vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It is approved. And we now come to the time in our meeting for public comments. I invite citizens to make comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Understand at the last meeting, I didn't watch the video, that there's a discussion of a 1% sales tax for schools. I don't know how many folks realize how many taxing bodies we have in your townships alone. Kansas Township, for 1,000 people, we have 12 separate tax levies. And when you start looking at those and break those down, and Augie, you can attest to how many tax ordinances you get countywide. Imagine every single one of those public bodies automatically raises those 5%, which is their limit, or 105%, every year. And probably 95% of them do it. And they keep going up just a little bit at a time. And the argument is always, well, it's just a little bit, or it's for the kids, or whatever the argument is. But when you look at it on a grand scale, we all are being taxed more than enough. And we all can find waste in areas of government. I compliment the fact that our county levy has stayed where it is. How many years now? 3, I think. Ballpark, but whatever it is, there's been a huge improvement there. I spent 2 hours with 2 people from a financial firm yesterday up in Chicago. One school district, 4 schools, about 6,500 students, if I recall correctly. $518 million of bond debt. One other school, $56 million in bond debt. Between 2 schools, $1 billion in bond debt. I ran an article just a little over a year ago. 4 public bodies, the City of Paris, the District 95, the Water District, and I believe it was Crestwood. $79 million in bond debt. We do not see a debt reduction plan from any of these public bodies that continue to pass bonds and continue to go further in debt. And without a bond reduction plan, I will fight with everything I have with any more 1% sales tax for these schools. Because we see where they're spending their money. And we've got, I mean, the history is they don't do what they say they're going to do with the money. We see administration salaries continue to climb. I'm all for teachers being compensated properly, but enough is enough. It's got to stop. And unfortunately, all too often, we don't dig into the numbers to see what's really happening. And when I did that for our township, our multi-township, we dropped it 10%. We're gonna completely eliminate another levy. We promised the taxpayers, we're gonna do this for 5 years for a rescue levy to get the equipment we needed and substantial money for training, and we'd be done. Next year, that levy will drop. Let's go the other way with our taxes. And I think it will drive more economic interest in the community. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to give some comments?
I've got one. Good morning.
Who are you for the record?
Oh, John Crack
Thank you. We all knew, but
with a K.
for posterity, we wanted to
Keep
know.
taking notes. The last meeting, November 25th, you approved contracts or whatever insurance for property casualty liability, workman's comp, without placing them out to bid. And I understand Bushy Human Resources provided some documentation when asked about, hey, can we go without bidding this? Well, everything they gave you guys pertained to municipalities. Everything. And even in their letters, there's sub-notes in there that said, number 2, and then you go down to the last page and read number 2, it says counties must bid out their insurance. So even whatever they gave you that pertained to municipalities said in their own letter that counties must bid out insurance. The county's code says you must bid out insurance. The Attorney General wrote an opinion in 2012 stating that insurance is not a professional service. The bidding requirements are there, requirements, you have to bid it out. County's code doesn't say, hey, if the county thinks they can save some money, they don't have to bid it out. No, that's not what it says. It says you have to bid it out. So I'm asking that you hold a special meeting before the 25th of December, which would be the 30 days, hopefully a week prior, reverse your decision to purchase that insurance and put the insurance out for bid. There's no emergency. A self-created emergency is not an emergency according to the statute. So you can't now claim, oh, it's an emergency, we have to have insurance, so we'll do it anyway. It doesn't work. So I'm asking that you hold a special meeting next week, or early the week after, reverse your purchase of the insurance and put it out for bid like I asked for 2 or 3 times all summer. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Oh, I can make it over there.
Yeah, I won't count that against your time getting over there.
I am Albert Schneider. I'm a Korean War veteran, forgotten war. Since before World War II started, there have been 500,000 young men and women killed and hundreds of thousands more wounded fighting for our United States of America, for the state of Illinois, and for Edgar County, Grandview Township. I've been a pilot longer than I think we decided anybody in the county now. Got my license when I was 16. But what you guys have done for our airport, and what you're still doing, makes me sick.
Thank you for your comments, Albert.
Morning. My name is Robert Bogue, and I'm an Edgar County resident, citizen of the United States of America. I appreciate the comments. Al Snyder. This morning I wanted to remind you folks that Jerry Griffin, as far as I know, is still employed by the county at the Edgar County Airport. Remind you that he falsified his employment documents. Remind you that you've known this for the last year, and you've done nothing about that. The taxpayers in Edgar County that I visit with and the voters that I visit with don't appreciate the fact that you are continuing along that path and that you've done nothing about the flagrant abuse of process. Remind you about the first grant. County Board Chairman, the County Board, Airport Advisory Board, they all said there were 35 airplanes at the airport. There weren't. We talked about fuel being pumped from a 1,000-gallon fuel tank. It wasn't. And, things aren't right. You guys aren't doing your job. You're not fixing things. You're just continuing on. I'd like to think that you'd spend more time and more energy trying to fix things. We now have a second grant, and it looks to me like it has some issues, some serious problems. We'll see how that turns out. I'm optimistic it will be halted or changed materially in its content. But this past Monday, in a study session, you mentioned you didn't want to do county zoning. You didn't want to bring up the word zoning. Didn't like to bring up the word taxes, but you weren't wanting to talk about zoning. But I have a copy of a law here. It's 620 ILCS 40/1. It is the General County Airport and Landing Field Act, and that's the authority under which your airport is operating. First part of that says your county can have an airport. I sort of glossed over the details. But the second part of the paragraph, it says no land may be used for the expansion of the airport, landing fields until it has been zoned for airport purposes by the county or municipality having the zoning power over such land as the case may be. That's Edgar County. The crosswind runway and the airport runway extensions were in violation of this Illinois law. So, we'll see where that goes. I urge everybody once again to just step back, take a deep breath and say, what's the right thing to do here? Let's do the right thing. Jerry Griffin has tainted the county politics. He's affected your reputations as honorable people. Well, if you're going to work at this level, then it undermines your credibility. Jerry Griffin lied about 5 years of his experience at the Aviator Flight School. He's not a mechanic for airplanes. He said he was. He doesn't have an AMP certification to do so, and nobody signed off for his work. Then there was another 3 years. He said he was a mechanic working on airplanes. Can't be a mechanic working on airplanes unless you have an AMP or somebody signs off for your work. That didn't happen either. This information's been out there for a long time, guys. You need to do something. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any further comments from the public? Hearing none, we'll proceed on to item 8. Resolution to participate in the State's Attorney Appellate Prosecutor Program for fiscal year beginning December 1st, 2015 and ending November 30th, 2016. You will note that it is in your budget under State's Attorney. The cost of that is $7,000. We do that on an annual basis, and I would entertain a motion from the other members to approve this participation.
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Farnham moves. Do we have a second, please?
Yes.
And Mr. Zuber seconds. Is there any further discussion on the issue? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying, I'm sorry, is it a resolution?
Yes, sir. Roll call.
Okay, roll call, please.
Zuber.
Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Farnham.
Yes.
Helsley.
Yes.
Lorenzen.
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
6-0.
It does carry.
I might make one comment.
Please.
That we talked about in our negotiations, we were talking about if we ever have to have an attorney, that the prosecutor's office has a labor specialist and they can assist us with our labor relations questions or issues, including negotiations. So that's an option if we need it.
Thank you, Mr. Farnham. Okay, moving on to the next item, set dates, times, and locations for our county board meetings for the I'm sorry, did I skip one? Oh, yeah, because I've already checked that off. Okay, resolution approving voter centers with precincts served for 2016. Mr. Clerk?
Yes, we needed to update our list of voting centers that with precincts served because of the recent split of Paris 5 into Paris 5 and 15, and Sims into Sims 1 and 2. So that's on the paper that you have in front of you.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Mr. Bruner has made the motion. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Patrick seconds. Is there further discussion?
May I make one further comment?
Absolutely.
In those new precincts, Paris 5, 15, they will still vote at the same place at the KC Hall. That does not change. Sims 1 and 2 will still vote down at the Sims Township House, Township Building. So no voting locations have changed. We just need to update the precincts that are served by each voting center. So, thank you.
Thank you. I assume you're all ready to vote. All those in favor of the resolution signify. Oh, yeah, the resolution. Roll call vote, Mr. Clerk.
Zuber.
Did we have a motion for that?
Mhm.
Sorry. I missed that part. Sure. Yes.
Bruner.
Yes.
Farnum.
Yes.
Helsley.
Yes.
Lorenzen.
No, just for a reason we discussed, yes.
Okay. Patrick.
Yes.
That's carried. The resolution carries. Now, number 10, set time, dates, times, and locations for the 2016 regular county board meetings. We have any corrections on that?
Not on that one, we don't.
You've all had.
Nope, not on that one.
Okay. Can I have a motion to approve those times as submitted to you, gentlemen?
Carl, we get that figured out, or do you?
That's on another.
That's another, yes, I make that motion.
Okay, Mr. Zuber moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Lorenzen seconds. Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Does carry. Set time, dates, times, and locations for study sessions for 2016. Now, this is where Mr. Farnum brought up an issue. So, Mr. Clerk or Mr. Farnum?
I was just looking through it the other day and I saw December 26th and I assumed that was probably a holiday. It doesn't make any difference to me, but, to get the county engineer and clerk and everybody there.
That was a mistake, and you are correct, it is a county holiday, and it doesn't make any difference how many sets of eyes you look at something. Sometimes things just get past us, so I apologize for that. So you want to change that date, or just eliminate that meeting? It's
What's
the
your
call of
pleasure,
the board.
gentlemen?
Yeah.
Is that the one, that was the study session, is that?
Yeah, it was a study session on the 26th, which is a Monday.
If we have one first of January.
I can be real flexible on that.
Yeah.
Well, does somebody have a motion?
We have one on January.
We usually have a study session first of January, don't
No, it'll be the 11th, I believe. What is it? I don't have it here.
It's on
Anyway,
paper.
I think it's Monday the 11th is our first study session.
Yes.
Well, does somebody have a motion to approve those as submitted with the correction of eliminating the 26th of December?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Is everybody okay with that? Okay, assuming you're ready to vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, number 12, we need to adopt Robert's Rules of Order as guidelines for conducting a meeting, our meetings. Do I have a motion, please?
So move.
Mr. Zuber moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Lorenzen seconds. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. That's carried. I assume, are we going to skip the sheriff's report this month, considering everything going on?
The sheriff, you have the sheriff's report in front of you. He is not here to go over it, but it's just more of
It's up to
a,
you, gentlemen.
more of a item to note that it was filed.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept his semi-annual report.
Well, Mr. Farnham's
Fees
moves.
that he collected through the year.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Mr. Helsley seconds. Further discussion, comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. It is approved or acknowledged as received. Number 14, County Clerk Semi-Annual Report File. Augie, do you want to make any comments?
I'd be glad to, as soon as I get my report out. You'll have my report.
Yeah, you do right there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You helped me a lot.
Okay, if you'll notice in bold, 3/4 of the way down, far right column, for the period we're talking about, June 1st, 2015 through 11/30, the total to the general fund is down roughly $5,000. And there isn't any one specific area, but it's a culmination of several areas that make up that difference. Some categories we've increased, some we've decreased, but
Can I make a comment? If you look at time, in other words, 6/1/15 through 11/30/15, and you go back to 6/1/14 to 11/30, and is that where you're talking about the,
well, I was just comparing to the last,
okay,
I'm sorry, I was just comparing to the previous 6 months is all I was
All right.
doing.
that's fine.
But you can, again, notice, beginning with that June 2014 time period, if you look at that total number going forward compared to all those prior, you see a significant difference. And that's a result of the cost study that was approved and we've implemented. So, and a lot of these things we can't control,
Right.
so.
Any further comments or questions? Assuming not, I entertain a motion to accept the, okay, Carl Barnum moves to accept the county clerk's report. Is there a second?
Yes.
Mr. Zuber seconds. Assuming you're ready to vote, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, or nay. It is approved. Okay, resolution for the partial payment of $100,000 to pay down our long-term liability to IMRF for underfunded liability. Don is not here this morning. He had a dentist appointment that he had to go to, so if we looked at that carefully, there's plenty of cushion in there, and we can drop that unfunded liability by another $100,000. So that's what the treasurer is recommending, and that will save us approximately $7,500 in interest costs this coming year. I'd entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
So move.
Mr. Zuber moves. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Lorenzen seconds. Is there further discussions or questions, please? Okay, Mr. Clerk, could I have a roll call, please?
Zuber,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Farnham,
Yes.
Elsley,
Yes.
Lorenzen,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
6-0 does carry. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, action on contract between Illinois FOP Labor Council and Edgar County Sheriff's Deputies. Should be actually Edgar County. But, Mr. Farnham, do you have comments on this?
Yes, I think we had a couple weeks ago, the last time we met, maybe a week and a half ago, and we had a tentative agreement. There was gonna have to be some changes in the contract language, They gave us a rough draft of that one day last week. We sent, Augie notified him that we need a corrected copy, final copy, and they were supposed to get it to us prior to today. We have not received it as of yet. So I will make a motion that we table that action on that until we do receive a copy of it so we can review it and then pass it at a later time.
Thank you, Mr. Farnum. Mr. Farnum has moved that the issue be tabled. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Bruner seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that does carry and will be tabled. We'll look forward to dealing with that as soon as we can in the future. Okay, authorize, number 18, authorize the chairman to sign,
17.
I'm sorry, 17. Jeez. Resolution to approve administrative order appointing William D. McGrath as public defender for Edgar County beginning December 1st, 2015 and ending November 30th, 2017. Do I have a motion on that, please?
Help me out a little bit on this. Is this position also one that is paid by the state? Or is this part of what we have to partially pay? And is this also one of those that we work in conjunction with another county
That's correct.
and the whole ball of wax?
Yes. And that's one of them that we haven't been paid for the last 6 months, or however many months.
We share him with Clark County.
Right. And this is a resolution that was offered to us by Judge Garst to make everything set.
Okay. I'd make that resolution then. I just want to make sure what it, I thought that's
It's
what
fine.
it was.
We've got to understand. Mr. Zuber moves. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Mr. Lorenzen seconds. We do have a resolution here, so assuming that there are no more comments, Augie, would you please call the roll?
Zuber,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Farnum,
Yes.
Helsley,
Yes.
Lorenzen,
Yes.
Patrick.
Yes.
It does carry. Thank you, gentlemen. Now, authorize chairman to sign 2017 airport tips agreement with the Illinois Department of Aeronautics for Project 1, which is the East Apron expansion, and Project 2, a new taxiway for the East Apron. That I think we talked about briefly at the study session. Mr. Lorenzen, do you have anything to add to this at this time, or do you have a motion?
No changes, I move that we approve this.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Lorenzen. Do we have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Helsley? Further discussion, please?
I
All
have
those
one
in-
question.
Yes, sir.
On the project 2, on the new taxi, is this building a new taxiway or just cut?
It's to connect, so it'll relieve some of the congestion up there at the,
Okay.
plus it might make it possible to open up some areas for negotiation for further use of the airport.
The big
Okay.
concern there is currently the taxiway exists, it's two-way traffic, this would allow for flow through.
So, and that's separate from the one that was, the taxiway that was repaired last year?
Well, it leads to it. I
Okay,
mean,
Right.
Right. It'll give another access point to them, so
okay.
the airport, or if somebody's parked a huge jet, or a plane is parked in front of the fuel farm, of course, after it's built, it'll be different anyway,
Right,
but
okay.
it'll relieve the congestion.
Enough.
Okay. Any other questions? Assuming you're ready to vote, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Saying nay? Okay, it does carry. All right, department heads. Dina?
A reminder to taxpayers that complaints are still due Monday, December 21st. I'm not pushing for those, but taxpayers need to realize when tax bills come out next summer, we're gonna say, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. Now's the time. Also, tomorrow evening is our annual instructional meeting with our township assessors, 5 o'clock in our building, public invited. Thank you.
Thank you, Dina. Is there any questions of Dina at this time? Okay. Monty?
Nothing new from probation.
Circuit clerk?
Nothing
Sandy?
to report, thank
No.
you.
Jill?
No,
I have nothing.
Okay. Eric?
Just a reminder, the AED grants are due December 18th if anyone wants to apply for those.
Okay, thank you, Eric. We miss anybody on this side? Nope. Augie?
Last time we met, we were in the filing period. Since then, filing period for the March 2016 primary closed on November the 30th. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 contested races in the primary. One being the circuit clerk's race, and then the other one being county board seat number 7. And then the other 3 are precinct committeeman races. So we are working with our election vendor to get the ballot prepared, and so that's all I have. Any questions?
Don has given me the report which I've passed out, which shows you the various funds and our fund balances. It's really not a whole lot to say at this point. Obviously, we're waiting like everybody else for state funds, and so we'll be looking forward to that. I guess you noted last night in the paper, and of course the night before, the governor signed the bill to release motor fuel tax money along with some other funds, but that will directly benefit our highway department and, more importantly, our townships in being able to cope with winter issues and maybe relieve some of the burdens that they've experienced over the last 5 to 7 months. So that was a good thing. Hopefully they can get together and solve some of the other issues so we can move forward and get some things taken care of. So also 911, I believe, was in that issue, and 911 will, although we have a surplus that allows us to continue to operate, it does relieve some of the pressure all over the state, and I think 911 would like to say they appreciate it. Are there any questions on this? Okay. I guess it's up to you guys now. Committee reports, Mr. Brunner?
We signed the contract with the company to remove the asbestos with the health department around the pipes and insulate. And then once that's done, Sycamore Engineering will start with the replacement heating and cooling system. They'll do as much as they can this winter and then convert over in the springtime. And since we were under budget, we're going to do a little more work with the controls in each one of the rooms so it can be controlled. And then animal shelter, we had a couple problems there. The dryer quit, so we got a used dryer, and also the outside faucet has been repaired. So other than that, everything's fine.
Any questions of Mr. Brunner? Mr. Patrick?
Couple things. The flue for the furnace is in, and the first refrigeration's gonna, if they're working on a project out of town right now, but if everything goes right, they should have that. They intend to install that. Should take a day or two. They said should be able to get it pretty much in a day. So it should be installed next week. If anybody noticed that Creeling was back, they installed all the downspouts around it on all the porticos. So all the leaks, when you walk into the doors, there shouldn't be any leaks anywhere running down the wall or on the, leaking down on the floor there in those porticos. So if anybody sees anything, let me know. We, Rich Kozel from WJE was down, and he and I talked. We went upstairs during the rains we had last week, and we didn't see any no leaks that we could see anywhere. So at this point, all the leaks have been stopped. Everything looks pretty decent at this point. So that's basically where we are at this stage of the game. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Chair would like to recognize you and Mr. Bruner for the extensive work that you've done on these projects. We very much appreciate it. Mr. Zuber?
A few items. I was at we have a quarterly regional office of education meeting the other night. I attended that as a part of one of the meetings and duties that I do, and it's pretty much the same things going on. They went over their yearly review, what they do. Also, another thing that part of is the liaison with the chamber. Again, very much appreciated the use of the courthouse and the square and stuff around here for the use of the lighting ceremonies and that type. And for any of those of you who are here, I got a lot of good feedback from just people knowing I was on the county board, and they appreciated it also. So, also have a WIA meeting, it's called, coming up, and it's about workforce employment. And those are also quarterly meetings, so they are basically it's an organization that the state of Illinois says that we must belong to, and we are financially responsible to, if they're not servicing all the counties, and it's like 15 different counties. So that's coming up. On the insurance part, John brought up about the renewal versus rebid, and you know, maybe that's it, because we'd also talked about renewal for the last couple of months, as John was saying, he was talking about the rebidding aspect too. That may be something that, you know, we need to go back and relook at based on that. Property casualty actually started December 1. You know, last year we did that stuff in November, so that may be an issue that we may or may not have to deal with. Not sure, we just need to check into it further. Again, and part of that is we found out by renewal that hopefully if the same company had it for a couple of years, they were more likely to bid at a reduced rate, or that's what we were kind of informed, and it seemed like it did that. Whether that's right, wrong, or different, that's kind of what the premise was on both of those. The 1% school tax, I believe, just what Kurt brought up, was at a meeting the other day where they were talking about that issue. You know, that's still going to be a lightning rod. We also brought that up at our study session the other day. I just wanted to bring it up here at the actual meeting too. If school districts choose to do that, you know, 51% of the students in the county, as a county board, my understanding is you're not really going to have any say-so in that anyway, just so you know. That's if you can get a couple of school boards that comprise more than 50% of the students in the county to say, yeah, we want to put it on a ballot. And I assume it's the primary thing. So it's probably the end of December too when you have to have that done in Augie.
Yes.
I mean, I'm just talking out loud here, but so that would be that issue. The thing about that is, again, I don't really think there's as much interplay from a county board perspective as there once was on that issue. There may be.
Do
Could
they
be
have
wrong
to
on that.
circulate petitions, Alan, and get?
No, I don't, not
Or
to
the
my
school
knowledge.
board makes that?
The school board, and again, I'm speaking out of line here, I just, like I said, it was brought up, so that's why I brought it up also at the study session, just so people would know in general. I think it's the actions of school boards that comprise more than 50% of the students in Edgar County. We probably have 3,000 kids in our county nowadays, maybe less than that now. But, so if that was the case, 1501, if school boards that had that many kids got together, then they could put it on a county-wide referendum. And the neat thing about that, though, is, in my viewpoint, is that we don't really live in a democracy. We live in a Republican form of government. Not anything to do with Democrats and Republicans, but in a Republican form of government where the people control their government through their elected leaders. It's not a democracy. But on something like that, it kind of would be, because everybody in the whole county votes for it. Everybody. And even if you're at the other side about that, even the school boards that wouldn't necessarily go along with it, I think, maybe way out of turn here too, I think if it would pass, all God's children, so to speak, get whatever percentage of kids they have, they would get that. I didn't mean to get that much, sorry, Mr. Chairman, but I brought it up at study session, and then I heard more about it, and so I'm sure it'll be just
I'm sure we'll hear much more about it.
yes, you know, whether or not it happens.
It was only brought up as far as the informational
That's right.
at this point, and I'm sure our actual function in it is rather limited, but we were being informed. So.
And that's the reason I brought it back up again here too. So I don't think it's really going to have very much to do with the county board as maybe as it did at one time. I'm not sure.
So you're thinking that if they make that decision, we just have to approve it and put it on?
We don't really do anything with it, and that'll probably go through, my understanding, Augie, that goes through your office and the Regional Office of Education. Again, I was just at that meeting
Okay.
Monday night, and that's where I'm looking up some of this other stuff,
I
because
think
there's,
it used to where the county board had to approve it being on the ballot.
yeah, there was
That's- I don't
something,
think
there
we
was
have-
some nexus there, and I,
Right.
Carl, what I was saying, I'm not sure there's any nexus there anymore. I think it's,
So
School
to get it
board.
on the ballot for this fall, it has to be done by the end of this month? I mean,
probably Augie knows that better
No,
than I do.
the respective school boards, as I understand it, would have to adopt a resolution for this particular, doggone it, I just lost the word.
sales tax.
You've been
Yeah.
hanging around me.
I've been hanging around him too long, yeah. And then once they adopt the resolution, then basically they have so many days thereafter to file that in my office, is the way that the election calendar reads. And how that's all coordinated with the ROE, honestly, I don't know the answer to that question, but and it would go on the spring ballot.
Spring ballot
Yeah, yeah,
in March.
in March.
Mr. Bruner?
Did I misunderstand Alan, but he said all school districts have to approve the referendum? or-
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
nobody,
Schools
I mean,
representing
all you,
51% of the
Okay.
student body.
So like, the district that only has 500 students couldn't put it on a referendum?
Right.
Okay.
But like 95.
Well,
I mean,
actually-
95 than anybody else, if
Well, I
I remember
started
my old
with one
stats
district,
correctly.
Okay.
Okay, so not to get a whole lot off on that anymore, but I just, again, informational, because I'd also been to the ROE meeting, and it was discussed there. Let's see.
The rules of engagement.
Yeah,
But the 1% is not on everything, wouldn't be on food or stuff like that, it's only on.
there's all
certain
sorts of
things,
qualifications, and that's why I say, you really need to look at it separately than this. I was just trying
right?
to
Yeah, I just,
Good luck.
This
throw
is
it out there, because
really
that's the
fun.
meeting I went to. Again, we talked a little bit the other day at study session about land use ordinance and about various things, whether or not, and again, I'm not sure we want to get into that or not, but I think that is a discussion item, whether it's, I brought up the idea whether it's like general ordinances for that, or whether it deals with housing, whether that's old dilapidated places or new developments, whether it be industrial, whether it be agriculture, whether it be business. If your county continues to grow, I think that is gonna be an issue that we're gonna have to look at a little bit one way or the other. I'm not sure where that will go also. And I think I'm gonna stop there, Mr. Chairman, unless somebody else, I think I've.
Oh, no, keep
I think-
going.
I think I've taken enough time. Anybody back here falling asleep, then please be quiet and get going with this thing. But anyway,
Thank you,
that's
Mr.
all I
Zuber.
have.
Appreciate it. Mr. Helsley?
A couple little things. I've been reading our association handbook, and one of the things that I caught my eye is that they suggest strongly that we do. This is just a little minor thing, and this is directed at you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker. My name's Mr. Zuber, not Mr. Ryan.
Before we go into closed session, they strongly suggest that we take a roll call vote when we do that. And they cite several issues, numbers of statutes or case law. I didn't go into it, just said we strongly suggest that you do that. It takes 5 seconds to do that, and I'm sure there's a good reason. So I think we ought to consider doing that when we go into closed session. I know it's not any.
It's not gonna hurt anything.
No, it's not
if we
gonna
do
hurt
it.
anything, and.
We can do that.
Their suggestion to do it right, I don't know why, I don't have an answer, but I suggest that we do it. Number two thing that I wanted to ask is, I had some inquiries, are we going to have a airport meeting this month?
Yes.
Okay. That's basically all I've got.
Thank you. Mr. Farnham?
On that airport meeting, is that next week?
Next
Don't
time.
have it for you
Oh,
yet.
okay. Okay.
Christmas Day, actually.
Just a quick update on not the road deputies union, but dispatchers and correctional officers. We've met twice. We had a meeting yesterday. It was a pretty good meeting. We had good discussion. on some issues that are concerned. And we're gonna gather some more information and meet with the sheriff whenever he's available and get back with the union, so that's moving along
In January.
probably after the holidays. So different people are gonna be out of town, vacation and stuff, so we'll report back next month. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Farnham. Is there any questions? Mr. Lorenzen?
Got nothing.
Okay. The only thing I would like to say to the office holders and to the department heads would like to say is on behalf of the board that we thank you for the way you handled your budgets last year. We very much appreciate it. We would like to thank you for the way you've handled the budget process going into 2016. And we appreciate all the efforts that you put forward. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could you just reiterate, in the purpose of the full board here, instead of the study session too, when we talked about the differences in our budget, our expenses line off of 2015,
We were $58,000 short of our goal. Okay.
and part
You
of that
won't
you
have
feel.
that here.
Right, and that's, you said you were gonna get that to us today, and that's what you and Don were talking about, is part of that is part of the shortfall that we've experienced from.
50,000 that we experienced a shortfall that's due to from, Don was 140, I was 150.
Right.
Let's just say 140. So we are due that by the state, so eventually that'll catch up, I guess, if you look at it as a 2-year period.
And so that would have been, but that 140 that we're missing, don't feel like that would have went into last year's budget and
Correct.
made that look a lot different than what
Yes,
it was.
it would have. And of course, expenses and stuff at the end of the year ebb and flow. I mean, there's no control over that sometimes. Yes, Mr.
On,
Ross?
on this agreement that was finalized yesterday, I guess, does that mean that the motor fuel tax money will become retro? They'll go back and catch up, or are they just gonna start paying us from now on?
The way that I read some of the stuff coming through our legislatures was they were gonna start processing the back and catch up with the front. They were gonna have to take longer, they would take a longer period to see what they owe every county and every municipality. However, I found it strange that they knew the exact total amount, which means that they had to know the breakdown. But they said they would start issuing and processing on the 14th. But talking to Aaron, I think we're not gonna expect that probably until on or after Christmas. It's gonna be a couple weeks yet. And if we're surprised, we're surprised. I just ask them not to count on it till then.
But we think that they may go 100%.
Supposedly. Yes, I mean, the money, what they agreed to was money that should catch all that up. Now, whether, nobody knows for sure until it actually comes in, okay? It's like 911, they were given a projection of what they're gonna get, whether they actually get it is another thing.
Now, do we apply that, or what do we do with that money when it comes in?
Now, we'll just go, well, for example, on the highway department, which is what we're talking about, that will just go into the main revenue items, and that will inflate them, and when we finally get our money, the 140, 150,000, that will inflate our revenues for this year. Doesn't give us extra money to spend, but it will inflate our revenues, okay? Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, I know we owe money for the high school road. Remember when the asphalt company did,
Right.
we take that money and pay that?
Right.
Okay.
But I mean, yes, but I'm just talking in general terms. I mean, our revenues are gonna look better than they did last year because there's gonna be more things coming in. Does that?
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Using you? Okay. Is there anything else? Alan, did you have?
Yeah, the only other thing is, I was gonna say, we briefly discussed, I believe, the idea of, I don't know if we could do that on a monthly basis or not, and I know we have bills to pay, but like we said, we weren't able to put any money this past year into the courthouse cost that it's gonna cost us down the line, and we briefly discussed, whether or not should we put like a monthly allotment in automatically, and then almost at the end of the year, if we have more, I think you said, you know, obviously we could give more than if that was the case. I mean, it's huge that we lost this 140,000, because that cuts out of that other budget item.
We just, and I was gonna discuss this or propose it at the next study session, but we just got $25,000 from the 911. I think we ought to just drop that into the fund.
And that's, so we can put into that.
We can put
whatever
into it
we
any
want
time
to,
we
so
feel
right now.
comfortable. I mean, the whole board has to feel comfortable in
Right.
doing that, but we just got that. We didn't get it a year ago, okay? So, if we put $25,000 in that fund, it'd be kind of a down payment, and then as we look at our circumstances and what the state does, then we can increase that. And Carl had talked to me about that, and you all have talked to me, so that's one way we can do that.
Like that 140,000, I mean, we were not able to put line last year in the courthouse repair fund. We didn't have anything towards debt reduction. And, you know, of course, we were 15,000 over on our budget, so
Right.
all that, 140,000 has got a place to go.
I'm
And
not
that's-
saying that we're designating
Right.
that 25,000 to pay down the court. I'm just saying that it allows us to pay $25,000 from the general fund. I'm not saying that that money that we're getting from 911 is going in. It just allows us to have a little room to put money in, okay? Which is a difference.
So that goes to the general fund.
Right, it's going to the general fund, and it'll just allow us to make an earlier payment that we budget.
Why don't we just make the payment? That way we can, then we can't go steal it back when we get in trouble.
Well, that's what I'm talking about, that's what we were gonna discuss. Kirk, you have a question?
I didn't follow what fund, the 911 money you wanted to put it where?
Okay, the 911 money has already come in. We will be depositing that in the general fund. Okay? It's deposited in the general fund. Since we've got that income, I mean, it just expands our cash flow. Okay? So it allows us, along with other sources of income, to make a payment from our general fund to the courthouse renovation fund. The two are not combined, it's simply a matter of cash flow. I didn't mean to make it sound like it was a check that we were gonna take from them and put into the courthouse improvement fund, okay?
The payment from 911 goes to the general fund to help pay for the dispatching services.
Right.
Isn't 911 fund supposed to be handled as a separate account by statute?
Well, they are, their funds are handled separately.
But if you put it into the general fund, then it's not being handled
We
separately.
haven't seen a statute that says that we have to do that.
That's part of the reimbursement contract.
That's the reimbursement contract for 100,000.
Okay, so you're not talking the 911 fee money?
No, I'm sorry. And I think everybody else, you need to come to more meetings.
Well, when you said 911 money.
Well, I'm sorry, based on our contract with 911, we get a quarterly payment,
Gotcha.
which goes into the general funds.
We are on the same page.
All right, well, I'd rather clear those things up now than, more FOIAs.
Haven't FOIA'd 911 in almost 2 years.
Well, I was worried about.
Paying that FOIA fee.
All right, now, is everybody clear as mud on that? Did I answer the question? And we will discuss that. You know, you guys, if you wanna do a monthly, you wanna do a quarterly, we
I
need
just
to
brought it
do,
up just so that we maybe
need to
plan
do something.
ahead. I
Okay?
don't,
Yeah,
obviously, no
Because I think
action to be
there's only-
taken here, but just, you know.
yeah, there's only $4,700 in that account right now. Now, the city pays into it, and, other things happen, but,
All of a sudden, it's gonna be ours then.
yeah, in about another, 6, 7 years. Anything else, gentlemen? Do we have a need of an exec session? I'm not aware that we do. The state's attorney hasn't requested one. We don't need one for negotiations, so hearing none, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Make that motion.
Mr. Helsley moves, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Lorenzen seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Man,